everyone, and welcome to this week's ASMG Back Pass podcast. And we have quite a race that's heated up for the top three in the Georgia Premier Division in the UPSL. The playoff places are pretty much set right now. We have another week to really confirm that. Same goes for the relegation battle for teams trying to get out of that quagmire at the bottom of the table. So there's still plenty to play for all teams there. But let's go ahead and get into this from the past weekend. We'll start with Saturday's games. The first one there was a ASMG TV exclusive. FC Atlanta coming out ahead of Georgia Athletic Soccer Club. This was an interesting game, an interesting result because FC Atlanta were in danger of getting kind of put down in that relegation race with SSL. But this victory pretty much makes them safe. There's still some work to do with another week, but this really was an important win for them. Georgia Athletic pretty much out of the playoff race with this loss. Maybe not mathematically, but for all intents and purposes, it's done for them. So it'll be interesting to see if FC Atlanta can go a little bit further and secure their spot. Georgia Athletic really were hurt by the points deduction from early in the season. They'd be in the playoff places now had it not been for that, but they're still playing hard and trying to get through to any chance that they have for the playoff places. So we'll be watching out for their games coming up. We'll go through the games coming up on the weekend at the end of the podcast. So the other game on the weekend there, sort of the doubleheader at Silverbacks Park there. Vino Tinto really in fine form, defeated UMA in emphatic fashion. Just a stellar performance from Vino Tinto. I think that's probably the best performance I've seen them play this season. Comes good for them after dropping two games in a row, which took them out of the title race. They spent one weekend in first place, but really couldn't hold on to it. There's a lot of competition up there at the top right now. But this was a stellar performance for them. UMA, on the other hand, quality team, but very young team. They've had to rely most of the season on some of the younger academy players, and now they're getting some of their senior players back, particularly the star that you saw score there, Tony Kim. Really one of the better players in the conference. So hopefully Coach Joe can do something in the off season to get ready for the spring season and challenge for playoff place. But right now, this defeat kind of put them out of there. We'll take a look at the table at the end of the results that we go through. And next game, Georgia Revolution, North Georgia United. Really another interesting game because Georgia Revolution were on the brink of losing this game. And again, this is important. They're one of the three top teams that are vying for that division title. They were losing 3-2 in extra time of the second half and pulled out an equalizer in the dying seconds. I mean, it may prove to be one of the goals of the season for them if they do end up winning the division. They have some work to do though to get to that point, but that's going to be a golden point for them that they got against North Georgia. North Georgia, of course, a vastly improved team from last season. They ended up at the bottom of the table, but this season they're in the playoff places and actually still vying for a home field advantage. They could end up if things work out the way they can with other results in the division. So that'll be interesting to see. And we'll go on to the next game. Of course, this is the one I always hate to deal with. Atlanta City. They're going to be their scheduled games are forfeits every week, and particularly this one is I would say damaging to the competition because it's gifting Dalton United 3 points and 3 goals. And remember, not only is there a competition for points to see who's going to win, and Dalton United's a favorite to win the division. So this was just a free 3 points for them, free 3 goals. But the tiebreaker again is goal difference, and we'll take a look at that at the end of the podcast. But in the event that teams end up on the same points total, goal difference is the tiebreaker. So this is an interesting result there. Atlanta City, of course, out and gone, banned from coming back, and it's a decision they made. They were not kicked out. They withdrew voluntarily, so that's kind of on them. But it's too bad because, again, like I said before in previous podcasts, I thought the youth focus they had there was good. They won the division playoffs a couple of seasons ago. Really couldn't build on that. So it's sort of a sad story, and you know, the opposite of a success story here, unfortunately. But some of their players have moved on to other teams. Most notably, Jimmy Noel ended up at Potros, and he had an assist, I believe, this past weekend. So not all doom and gloom for the players themselves, but could have been better if they could have finished the season out. Next game, FC Birmingham. Great win for them, 2-0 over Fountain City. Fountain City, another success story here, a promoted team from Division One. But FC Birmingham, they're holding on to that last playoff spot in eighth place. And this is one of those games. They're not mathematically confirmed for the playoffs yet, but they are right there. I think another point, at least another point, coming up in the next 2 weeks, and they should have it. And so that'll be one to watch, and I'm sure they'll be happy to get themselves into the playoffs, reset. And again, playoffs are a different season. It's a brand new season. It's a chance for these teams to really do something once this regular season is over. So Doug Walk has done a great job there running the club against a lot of adversity, as we've covered in past podcasts, with the facility, the changes of coaches. So they've really come through all of that and have a great promise now for the rest of the season. Next game, Kalonji Pro-Profile, Albion SC. I think a pretty good professional performance from Kalonji. This is one that could have been a slippery slope for them. Albion, I think, suffered from a lot of the same problems that Kalonji had in previous seasons, in a lack of focus. And the reason I say that is I know that at least two games that ASMG TV has done for them, they showed up with less than 11 players and no coaching staff on both of the games. And so they're involved. They're part of a nationwide network, academy network, the Albion Academy, but they are involved in other competitions, and they have players that go other places. So their position in the league, I think defies the talent that they have. They have quite a bit of talent in the club, but they don't have the focus. And I think the league table position that they have kind of spells that out for them. So this could have been a slippery game for Kalonji if they looked past them. And but they got the job done away from home, and it's setting up for them to come back this weekend and try to again take that next step to the division title that they're trying to battle Dalton United and Georgia Revolution from. And remember, Kalonji's game in hand that they have to make up is going to be made up on December the 4th. It's going to be a game that ASMG TV is going to broadcast, and it's against Dalton United. That's going to be the last game of the regular season, and it could be a title decider depending on other results. So stay tuned to that schedule, and we'll announce things on our social nets. So just pay attention there when you get a chance. Last game on the weekend, it was the only Sunday game that came out. Potros and Marietta High School hosting Soccer Saves Lives, SSL FC. Won it 4-3 in a if you watch the game on the Potros network, it was a back and forth affair. SSL still to win, trying to and mired deep in the relegation places. Potros trying to get to the home field advantage in the playoffs. And I think Potros really wants to get back to the playoffs. They won the division last season, but they were not able to win the division playoffs to get to the nationals. I think they want to get to that next step now, and their coach and the owner Christopher Oranga is, I think, really trying to get to that point and get to the next step for the club. But SSL provided a stumbling block for them, and there were times at this game you thought maybe there was going to be a famous upset. Soccer Saves Live, I think, led twice in this match. And much like the Georgia Revolution game, Portos came in very late goal, late on, go from 3-2 to 3-3, and then won it late in this match. And what a result that was for them, and it keeps their hopes alive for a home field advantage in the playoffs. So that's sort of a rundown of how the weekend went for the Georgia Premier Division in the UPSL. We're going to take a look at the leaderboard here, how the table looks as we get ready to get into the coming weekend of action. As you see here, Dalton United with that forfeit win over Atlanta City vaults back up to first place. And again, it's unfortunate he couldn't have competed to get there. Probably would have beat Atlanta City anyway, but you want to see it played out on the field. And but they're in the catbird seat right now. They have the advantage. They have a game in hand over Georgia Revolution, who are on 24 points right behind them. Kalonji Pro-Profile, they're a point ahead of them on the same number of games, and they do play at the end of the season. And again, like that could be a title decider. Vino Tinto, because they have a couple of games played more than Dalton and Kalonji, it's unlikely that they can have enough for the rest of the season to have any hopes of a division title. So that's why, it's really a three-horse race, not a four-horse race. But Vino Tinto, man, coming from Division One, they were in first place for 1 week. They've been up at the top the whole season. I think Orlando Lopez has done a great job with Vino Tinto. That this is a team that used to have disciplinary issues early on in their membership in the UPSL. Orlando has really gotten that straightened out, and they're one of the premier teams now. They've earned it this season. So hats off to them and what they've accomplished this season. Potros, defending champions, had some challenges early in the season. Had a slow start, had a coaching change, but they've really gotten themselves back on track now. And again, in fifth place, they're just outside the home field advantage. They have a couple of weekends to do something about that. It could be, but they're going to have to get some help from some of the teams up above to drop points. So it'll be interesting to see if that can happen. North Georgia United, Fountain City, and FC Birmingham round out the playoff places. As you see here, FC Birmingham, again, if they get a point, I think in the next 2 weeks at least, they'll be safe in that last playoff spot. Georgia Athletic, as we've gone over in detail, with the points deductions for violation during the season, kind of took them out of the playoff race. And then, of course, they lost to FC Atlanta this past weekend. That really damaged that. So, but FC Atlanta vaulting up there. We got 3 teams on 7 points. FC Atlanta, UMA, Albion, SC, and the only thing that separates them is goal difference. And so that's the one thing that is going to make a difference in that relegation race. So those teams still are in danger because of SSL. I know they're on 2 points, have yet to win, but they still have several games in hand to play. And 2 of those games are going to play on this coming weekend of action. One of them is a makeup game, and one is the regularly scheduled game coming up on the weekend. So let's first of all, before we get to next week's fixtures, we'll get to the Golden Boot race. Let's take a look at that, actually. Let's see if I can pull that up. And that's going to be an interesting one. I think that with Mark Bonneau, he scored a couple of goals this past weekend. That really almost makes him too far ahead to be caught. But Tristan Scheidel had a hat trick recently, so anything can be said. But on 15 goals for the season, he's going to be the favorite for the Golden Boot this this term. Trishan right there on 10, prolific scorer for Fountain City. Emmanuel Lom up there at 8. Martin Cicito has been kind of stuck on 8 for a little bit for the Revs. And Rana Maridiaga, the teammate of Emmanuel Lom there at North Georgia, on 7 right now. Anthony Sumo on 7 at Kalonji Pro-Profile. He could score a few more, but I think Mark Bonneau is going to be the straight favorite for that Golden Boot that's coming up. All right, so last but not least, we have the upcoming games coming up on the weekend here. Uh, Check out on the screen here. Well, Friday we have a makeup game, SSL FC. This is one of the games in hand that are so important for SSL that we've talked about here, and it's vital. They have to win out to really have any hopes of getting out of the relegation places, and they have a tall task against North Georgia United this weekend. Start It's a 8 o'clock game on ASMG TV, and 8 p.m. at Shiloh Stadium there at Charlie Jordan Field. And so that's going to be a vital one. Check it out. It's a game of survival for SSL. North Georgia, slim hopes of trying to do something about home field, but right now they're really just preparing for the playoffs at this point. But they do turn around. North Georgia does the following week. Excuse me, the following day on Saturday, and they host Albion coming in to play at Riverbend Park up there in the Dalton Calhoun area. So that'll be the Souls Saturday game. And then we have a whole slate of games on Sunday. Georgia Athletic are going to be hosting Fountain City 2 p.m. At Discovery High School. Potros is going to be gifted 3 points and 3 goals against Atlanta City. Unfortunately, we've gone on about Atlanta City's withdrawal and the impact it's had on the competition. I don't think there's anything more that we need to say about that. It's just an unfortunate situation. But Potros is going to benefit this coming weekend, like other teams have this past week, few weeks. And SSL play their scheduled game for the weekend, so it'll be 2 games in 3 days for them. FC Birmingham will be their guests there at again they share Shiloh High School's field at Charlie Jordan Stadium there. So again, another opportunity for them to pick up more points. So if they can win these games and something happens with whether it's FC Atlanta, UMA, or Albion, they could pull themselves out of that relegation spot. But they've yet to win so far this season. Came close this past weekend against Potros, but couldn't get the job done. So it's going to be a tall task for them to do anything with these next 2 games. But it is football, and anything can happen. UMAFC going to be hosting Georgia Revolution. Vital game here. UMA is going to broadcast that game themselves. Georgia Revolution, I'd have to say a must-win game for the simple fact that they both Kalonji Pro-Profile and Dalton United both have a game in hand over Georgia Revolution. Of course, that game in hand is Kalonji playing Dalton, which is going to be played. We'll get to that in just a second. But Kalonji is going to be hosting FC Atlanta. Must-win game for them. Again, they're a point behind Dalton in the standings, as we saw. But the last game that they're going to be playing in the season is going to be against Dalton United. And so that is going to be an interesting game if the other results lead up to that match to be a title decider. So it'll be the last game of the season in the division, and it could be a title decider. That game will be on ASMG TV. We've already been contracted to do that game, so check it out. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. So one other thing to talk about, we do as you've seen probably in the highlights from week to week, most weeks we try to get what we call the top goals of the week. And these are just from ASMG broadcasts. And at the end of the season, what we do is we take all the top goals from the top goals and we put them in a contest for the fans to vote on. And this past season, in the spring season. Kalen Kalonji was the winner of the fan vote. He got over 1,000 votes, which was 44% of all votes coming in, which is astounding. It was I think Giancarlo Bustamante won it the season before, last fall. With I don't think he had half that many votes. But Kalonji, Kalen has come in, nice young talent, and stole the show, so to speak. So, and we have the goal here that he scored that was voted on, and it's quite a nice one, and a nice little flick on to get it to him. So it was a all around beautiful goal that he scored, and the fans voted it the best of the selections that were out there. So he's going to be presented with a plaque this coming Sunday before the home game that they're playing against FC Atlanta. And so check out the broadcast, and you'll see him be presented with that. But that's all we have for you this week. Hopefully you're enjoying these updates. It's just a hot take. It's just something to really kind of identify to the fans what's going on in the division, what are the important races, some of the standout players. And so if you like what you see, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll get all the updates on all our broadcasts, on the podcast that we put out, the highlights that come on, and there'll be other features that are coming on too. And to note, I mean, I've gotten a lot of requests. We're going to be looking at expanding coverage to Division One, and the women and the academy for the spring of 2025. We're going to need some staff there, so begin looking for some interns to work with us and volunteers. So all to really expand coverage, and I'm looking forward to it. It's an exciting time here in the game in general. So we look forward to seeing more of all the support that we've been getting. Thank you for all that support. And we look forward to seeing you on the weekend with some of the important games coming up. So until then, have a great week, and we'll see you out there.